back to our channel, where we gather to discuss the drama, the romance, and the enduring legacy of our favorite daytime destination. For decades, we have watched Anna Devane stand as a pillar of strength, intelligence, and unwavering resolve in Port Charles. From her early days navigating the treacherous waters of the World Security Bureau to her legendary battles against international crime syndicates alongside Robert Scorpio and Duke Lavery, Finola Hughes has masterfully brought to life a woman who seemed entirely unbreakable. We older viewers have grown up with Anna, admiring her tactical brilliance and her fierce dedication to justice. However, as a longtime fan and a critical observer of the show's narrative arcs, I find myself deeply unsettled and profoundly captivated by the current storyline unfolding before us. The latest revelations from General Hospital indicate that Anna is stepping into a shadowy, perilous territory, pushed toward the brink of destruction by none other than the lingering ghost of Peter August. Wes Ramsey's portrayal of Peter was always a polarizing force on the canvas, bringing a specific brand of chaotic villainy that touched almost every family in town. Yet, even in death, it appears his reign of terror is far from over. The writers are making a bold, deeply psychological choice by having Peter manifest as a series of vivid, tormenting hallucinations that are actively warping Anna's perception of reality. This invisible enemy might just be the most terrifying foe Anna has ever faced, precisely because the threat is coming from inside her own brilliant mind. Watching this strong heroine slowly lose her grip on the world around her is both heartbreaking and utterly fascinating television. The psychological horror of seeing Peter is not merely a random symptom of trauma. It is a direct manifestation of Anna's deepest regrets, her lingering guilt, and her profound fears. For years, she believed Peter was her son, protecting him and compromising her own moral compass in a desperate bid to save a soul that was already lost to darkness. That twisted, tragic dynamic left an indelible mark on her psyche. Now, these hallucinations of Peter are serving as a punishing internal monologue, a constant reminder of her past mistakes and her perceived failures. I have to commend the writers for exploring the long-term mental health consequences of the extreme situations our beloved soap opera characters endure. Too often in daytime dramas, characters experience horrific trauma and bounce back a few weeks later with barely a scratch on their mental well-being. By showing Anna struggling so profoundly, the show is grounding its larger-than-life spy stories in very real, very relatable human fragility. What makes this storyline particularly tragic for longtime viewers is the elaborate facade of recovery that Anna is currently constructing. We are learning that Anna has successfully convinced her dearest friend, Felicia Scorpio, alongside her medical team, that she is fully healed and ready to be released back into society. The history between Anna and Felicia goes back to the vibrant, action-packed days of the 1980s, filled with Aztec treasures and globe-trotting adventures. They have been each other's rocks through marriages, losses, and countless crises. For Anna to look Felicia in the eye and actively deceive her about the true state of her mental health is a massive betrayal of that foundational friendship. It speaks volumes about the depth of Anna's current crisis. She is a woman who has always prided herself on being the smartest person in the room, the one who saves others, not the one who needs saving. Her pride, coupled with a deep-seated fear of being perceived as weak or broken, is driving her to hide the terrifying reality of her condition. As a critic, I find this character choice incredibly authentic, even if it is painful to watch. It is entirely consistent with Anna's fiercely independent nature to believe she can handle this internal demon entirely on her own. By keeping her lips tightly sealed about the terrifying visions of Peter, Anna has deliberately omitted a critical, defining detail of her recovery process. In fact, it is the very detail that proves she is not recovering at all. The clinical and emotional implications of this omission are staggering. Without addressing the root cause of her psychological distress, any treatment she received was merely superficial. she is stepping out into the world with an untreated, festering wound in her mind. Why is she keeping it a secret? Beyond pride, there is likely a profound fear of losing her freedom again after being held captive and subjected to unimaginable psychological manipulation. The thought of being locked away in a medical facility, even for her own good, must be utterly paralyzing. Therefore, she smiles, nods, and plays the part of the cured patient, all while an imaginary monster continues to whisper poison into her ear. It is a brilliant, suspenseful setup that leaves us anxiously waiting for the inevitable moment when her carefully constructed house of cards comes crashing down. The summer previews paint a remarkably bleak picture for our beloved former police commissioner, suggesting that this Phantom Peter will systematically dismantle any joy she might hope to find upon her return to Port Charles. Home is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of healing surrounded by loved ones. Instead, her mind is turning her safe haven into a psychological prison. The emotional toll of never having a single moment of peace, of constantly anticipating the next cruel hallucination, will undoubtedly erode her remaining sanity. It is devastating to imagine that the happiness of returning home, reuniting with her family, and breathing the free air of Port Charles will be completely overshadowed by the dark, looming presence of a dead man. The writers are setting up a stark contrast between the external warmth of her community and the internal freezing isolation of her mind, creating a dramatic tension that will surely drive the summer narrative. It is incredibly easy to visualize the heartbreaking scenario of a welcome home party thrown in Anna's honor. Picture the scene at the Savoy, or perhaps a warm gathering at Mac and Felicia's home. There would be balloons, heartfelt toasts, warm embraces, and a beautiful cake celebrating her resilience. The room would be filled with the people who have loved her for decades. Yet amidst the laughter and the clinking glasses, Anna would look toward the dimly lit corner of the room and see Peter August standing there, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. How will Finola Hughes play this? We can expect a masterclass in subtle acting, a sudden stiffening of her posture, a fleeting look of sheer terror in her eyes, quickly masked by a forced, brittle smile. She will have to engage in polite conversation with Mac or Robert while simultaneously trying to ignore the hallucinated villain who is continuously directing her next moves and mocking her every word. The sheer exhaustion of maintaining this dual existence will be a focal point of her character's journey in the coming months. This internal torment will inevitably lead to a devastating erosion of trust. The Phantom Peter will not simply stand silently in the corner. He will actively work to isolate Anna from her support system. He will whisper that her friends are judging her, that they are secretly plotting against her, or that they are entirely incapable of understanding the darkness she carries. Paranoia is the ultimate tool of an abuser, and even in death, Peter's legacy is one of profound psychological abuse. By ensuring that Anna does not trust the people around her, including those who adore her and have eagerly awaited her return, the hallucination will effectively cut off her lifeline. Watching Anna push away the likes of Felicia, Mac, and perhaps even her daughter Robin will be a bitter pill for us veteran viewers to swallow. We know that isolation is the absolute worst thing for her right now, but we are powerless to stop her from following the dictates of her fractured mind. According to the latest spoilers, Anna's plans upon her return to Port Charles are not just secretive, they are going to be incredibly dangerous. This begs the question, what exactly is the hallucinated Peter commanding her to do? Is he pushing her toward a misguided quest for vengeance? Is he convincing her to take preemptive strikes against perceived enemies? Or is he simply driving her towards self-destruction? The Anna Devane we know is a calculated, strategic thinker who values human life and operates with a strong, albeit sometimes flexible, moral code. However, under the cruel and relentless orders of this phantom, we may see her transform into a frantic, manipulated weapon. The prospect of Anna being led down a path of death and destruction by her own hallucinations is a chilling departure from her usual role as the protector of Port Charles. It is a storyline that carries massive stakes, not just for Anna's soul, but for the physical safety of everyone in town who might cross her path while she is under this dangerous delusion. Thankfully, in the intricate web of Port Charles relationships, secrets rarely stay buried forever, and at least one person is bound to notice that something is terribly wrong. Enter Valentine Cassadine. The upcoming reunion between Anna and Valentine is fraught with emotional complexity. Their history is deeply rooted in their shared past at the WSB, colored by years of longing, betrayal, and an undeniable magnetic connection. James Patrick Stewart and Finola Hughes share an incredible on-screen chemistry that elevates every scene they are in. Valentine is a man intimately acquainted with darkness, deception, and the heavy burdens of a troubled mind. Because he knows Anna better than almost anyone else, and because he possesses a uniquely perceptive nature honed by his own Cassadine heritage, he is the most likely candidate to see through the cracks in her armor. He will notice the micro-expressions of panic, the slight tremors in her hands, and the distant, haunted look in her eyes when she thinks no one is watching. When Valentine inevitably begins to probe, the resulting confrontation will be a masterclass in dramatic tension. He will surely ask her directly if she is truly okay after her harrowing period of captivity. The tragedy here is that two people who care deeply for one another are being separated by an invisible wall of trauma. Valentine's intuition will tell him that his former love is not speaking the whole truth, but he may not be able to comprehend the terrifying reality of what she is actually experiencing. Will Anna lash out defensively to protect her secret? Will she try to deflect his inquiries with her trademark wit and stoicism? The hallucinated Peter will undoubtedly react violently to Valentine getting too close to the truth, likely screaming at Anna to push him away, to lie to him, or even to view him as a threat. The dynamic of Valentine trying to save a woman who is actively fighting against her own rescue is a classic soap opera trope. But with these two veteran actors, it promises to be executed with extraordinary depth and nuance. In her desperate attempt to regain control of her mind, Anna will likely try to solve the mystery of her trauma through physical, tangible means. We anticipate that she will vigorously interrogate Valentine to extract every piece of information regarding the role of Ross Cullum in her recent captivity and psychological manipulation. Ross Cullum represents the real-world physical aspect of her nightmare. Anna, ever the brilliant investigator, will likely believe that if she can just unravel the conspiracy, if she can just understand the mechanics of how Cullum brainwashed and tortured her, she can somehow fix her broken mind. She will pour all her frantic, nervous energy into this investigation, treating her mental health crisis as if it were a rogue agent that simply needs to be tracked down and neutralized. It is a perfectly logical coping mechanism for a woman who has spent her entire adult life solving complex crimes and taking down criminal networks.